wish for you to be free from doubt. When you feel left behind or left out, when the world seems brighter everywhere else, and your mind is lost inside a wishing well, right on time, you are right on time, you're right on time. remember the heart is a tender thing. Restless and hopeful, it cries and sings. And sometimes you need shelter and a space to be a little tough, not tough enough, a little lost at sea. And when everyone is racing and you join in, if you can, try running with a smile, 'cause there is a danger in going too fast. Getting too far ahead can set you back. Right on time, you are right on time, you're right on time. You are right on time, you're right on time. And when you're tired and on your own, cried so many tears, they're all gone. When there's nothing you haven't tried to fix this uncertain road. When everywhere you look, you see regret, caught up in the past and what might have been. What we can never know make our heads spin. A little love, a little trust, a lot of forgiveness. Right on time, you are right on time, you're right on time. What if we're right on time? We're right on time, we're right on time.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Tony Lorenzen, the minister at the Mattituck Unitarian Universalist Society and here at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden, where we share similar missions as Unitarian Universalist congregations to provide supportive community, promote spiritual growth, and work together for social justice. We are here online every Sunday morning at 10:30. And we're really happy you can join us this morning as we welcome some new members to our congregations and celebrate some other milestones in our lives. Joining me today will be our congregational presidents, Denise Padane and Jane Diogardi, as well as Pinky Chlemi, a membership coordinator. We're going to have some music from Ellis and Oliver Scanlon. We thank them very much for use of their music and their videos. We're going to have our own congregational musicians, Alan Doherty and Ann Quackenbos. And as usual, our producer will be Jeff May, who will actually help us out hosting today's service as well. So join us and let's begin our celebration.
And thank you, Reverend Tony. The Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden and the Mattituck UU Society are beginning a pen pal program next week. If you would like a pen pal from the other congregation, please contact Reverend Tony at reverendtonyuu@gmail.com, or you can call him at 508-344-3668. If you are not a member of either of our two congregations and you'd like to participate, please contact Reverend Tony. On June 21st, a couple of weeks from now, our service is going to feature an online version of the UU flower ceremony, or the flower communion, as it's sometimes called. If you'd like to participate in that, please send photos of your flowers and you with your flowers to Reverend Tony. Ed Edelson from the Moose Congregation now has a word for us about an important film and discussion event that the Mattituck Unitarian Universalist Society will be hosting in June. Ed?
Hello, my name is Ed Edelson, and I will be presenting a screening and discussion of a documentary called Home of the Brave, When Southbury Said No to the Nazis. This will take place over 2 nights, Friday, June 5th and Friday, June 12th, starting at 7:30 p.m. and concluding at 9 p.m. We'll be doing this via Zoom. To register, email me at ededelson@outlook.com, and I will send you a link to the Zoom meeting the night before on June 4th. The documentary was made to commemorate the events in Southbury in 1937, when the community was confronted by an effort by the German-American Bund, a Nazi organization, to build their largest training camp. I am very proud of my involvement, along with many others, in making this documentary. Our discussion after the screening will focus on questions like, why did Southbury respond the way it did? Why was it the only town that did so? What would you have done if you lived in Southbury in 1937? And how do you think you would respond if a similar event happened in your community today? As UUs, I believe our values call upon us to stand up against those who spread hate and fear. In 1937, the town of Southbury did that. I believe this documentary and the ancillary materials that we will review will help us better understand how we can respond in the future. I look forward to seeing you there.
Mr. Chairman, 2 of my great-great-grandfathers and 4 of my great-grandfathers fought for liberty. So did the other people of this town. I call upon all of you here to keep the Nazis out.
If you would like a prayer, joys, and concerns, or a thanksgiving included in a service, please send a brief email to Reverend Tony or to candles@UUMeriden.org. Or you can call Reverend Tony at 508-344-3668. And just as it happens in our services when we're all together, sometimes someone walks up to the pulpit with a last-minute announcement that didn't make it in time to be in the announcement script for this morning. And Christine Edelson just actually got in touch with me about this, and there is going to be a silent vigil in Southbury at the Playhouse Corners, and that's going to be at 2 p.m. in Southbury Playhouse Corners this afternoon. It's a silent vigil for all of those who have been killed at the hands of police violence. There'll be folks there holding signs. Please do join if you can. That's again at 2 p.m. in Southbury at the Playhouse Corner. There's a lot of other things happening in our congregations right now, so please keep up what's happening by visiting our web pages and our Facebook pages frequently. You can sign up for our weekly email newsletter. Right after the service, there's going to be coffee hours for both congregations in Zoom, and the Meriden congregation will be holding a budget hearing in preparation for our annual meeting. We'll give you the sign-in information at the end of the service. We're also glad you've joined us this morning, and we invite you into this time in heart and spirit. Please sing along at home with our opening song, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
This time is made holy by virtue of our being together with each other. And being Unitarian Universalists, we begin our service by lighting the flaming chalice, which is the symbol of our faith tradition. I invite you to join me in the words for the chalice lighting which are on your screen. May this flame invite us into fellowship, inspire our spirit, and ignite in us a passion for peace and justice.
There was a flock of pigeons which lived on a banyan tree. A banyan tree is a very, very large tree. And one day the pigeons were flying in search for food. They saw plenty of grains strewn around on the ground. All of them came down on the ground to pick up the grains. But it was a trap laid by a hunter. All the pigeons were trapped in the net which the hunter had spread on the ground. The pigeons were very sad and feeling dejected because they knew that their end was near. The leader of the pigeons asked them not to lose courage. He said if all of them made a joint effort, they would be able to fly away with the net. The leader was a wise pigeon and knew the power of unity. The pigeons tried in unison and were finally able to fly along with the net. The hunter could do nothing but repent at seeing all the pigeons fly away. After flying for a long time, they reached a place where an old friend of the Pigeon King lived. It was a rat. The Pigeon King called for his friend, and then the rat came out of his hole. Once he understood the whole story, he called his folks. All the rats worked on the net and were able to cut it loose and set the pigeons free.
This morning, we are excited to welcome new members to our congregation. We will welcome Kim and her children Tim, Elliot, and Benny, as well as Gwen and Beth to the Mattituck Unitarian Universalist Society, and we'll welcome Jennifer to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden. Welcoming them this morning, along with myself, will be Jane Diogardi and Denise Padane, our congregation's presidents, Pinky Chalemi, membership coordinator, and some of our children and families in our faith development program. And now let our new members introduce themselves to you.
Hi, my name is Gwen Kilheffer. I live in Watertown, and I am a school principal for a school with children with social emotional disabilities. I started coming to Muse in an attempt to find some work-life balance and a community of people with a similar search for spirituality that I'm on, and I have found that at Muse, and I'm very happy to have joined the book club and the small group ministry, and to be growing in my own journey again.
Hello, my name is Beth Gannon. I just moved to Woodbury. I'm an art therapist and a direct care worker for people with developmental disabilities. I'm also an advocate for people with mental health issues and disabilities, and I love what I do. I'm looking forward to joining the congregation so that I can be part of a spiritual community that reaches out to others and makes a difference. And thank you so much for including me.
My name is Kim Hunter.
My name is Tim Hunter.
My name is Elliot Hunter.
My name is Benjamin Hunter.
And we live in Litchfield. I am a social worker, and for fun, I like to run. Tim likes to play baseball. Elliot loves Legos, and Benny likes to play.
I like to run.
And he likes to run too. And we are joining the church to build our community, to grow spiritually, and to learn.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Reed Hagans, and I'm from West Haven. And I have devoted my life to social justice. Both my dedication to social justice and environmental conservation are deeply rooted in my spiritual beliefs and expressions of my spirituality in active practice. This commonality is one of the many reasons I'm so excited to join the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden. Blessed be.
Universalist, a church of the open mind, helping hands, loving heart.
Welcome.
And welcome everyone.
Gwen, Beth, and Jennifer,
Okay.
do you join these congregations of your own free will? And do you promise to walk together with us in a spirit of love and service, and to dedicate your own particular gifts to our shared missional ministry?
I do.
I do.
Denise and Jane, as presidents of the Mattituck UU Society and the UU Church in Meriden, you represent the memberships of the congregations. In the name of the membership of the Mattituck UU Society and the UU Church in Meriden, do you welcome these new members into your congregation, and do you promise to reach out to them in friendship and fellowship and include them in the shared missional ministry of the congregation, each according to their own particular gifts?
We do.
We do.
We trace our congregational history and tradition back to the early Puritan churches in New England, where the visible saints signed their names as members of a covenanted church.
You've come on a personal journey. You've gotten to know the Mattituck Unitarian Universalist Society and the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden, and you've contemplated the responsibilities and benefits of being members in our shared missional ministry.
You have decided to journey on with us in covenant as we advance our mission.
Therefore, we invite you to formally sign your name in the membership book to signify and record for any who may question it that you consider yourself to be a member of the congregation.
We can't have our physical membership books present, but we have images of the page you signed to show everyone you have signed onto our covenant.
Kim, Gwen, and Beth, on behalf of our membership, I welcome you to Moose. And as a welcome gift, we are sending you a Unitarian Universalist pocket guide and a membership certificate. Welcome again.
Jennifer, on behalf of our membership, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden. And as welcoming gifts, we have sent you a white rose, a membership certificate, and a copy of the Unitarian Universalist Pocket Guide.
Kim, Gwen, Beth, and Jennifer, I want to welcome you more deeply into our congregations with a special blessing by having the congregation receive you into their hands. The laying on of hands is an ancient form of blessing and healing. In our congregational tradition, we believe each member is a minister in a priesthood and prophethood of all believers, of all members of the church. So just as ministers are ordained by the laying on of hands, I want to welcome you and ordain you into our shared missional ministry. Now, if we were able to be in person, we would do this laying on of hands, and I would call you to the center of the church. We can't do that, but I want all of us to focus our energy and our attention and our love and our prayers on you right now. So everybody focus on Kim, Gwen, Beth, and Jennifer, and that all the members of these congregations are holding you right now in their hearts as you take this step on your spiritual journey. They reach out to you and support you in all the ways you might need, in all the ways that they are able. And I want to offer you this blessing from all of us. These hands that will welcome you, to shake your hand and support you, are Unitarian Universalist hands. These hands are the hands of members and friends, visitors and seekers of our congregations, the Mattituck UU Society and the UU Church in Meriden. These hands make our congregation present and real in the world. They work hard, they raise children, they play, they mold, they build, they manage projects, they cook dinner. They use the computer and Zoom and Facebook and stay connected with each other. They hold loved ones close. And even now, even though they can't actually physically touch you, the members of these congregations hold you in their arms. And they say, welcome. They say that we are yours and you are ours, and this is home. Rest easy here among us and be at peace. Know love so you may transform your life and be a creator of beloved community. And may all of us, each one of us, partners in a shared covenant of missional ministry, be blessings to the world and to one another. Amen. Go Boldly by Jean M. Olson. May you be brave enough to expose your aching woundedness and reveal your vulnerability. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing they will change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, biography, slogans, graffiti, a great novel, laying bare your words to love. May you love even though your heart breaks again and again. And until the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and courage. There are a great many things to celebrate these days that are not getting their usual public celebrations. Graduations, job announcements, retirements, birthdays, so many rites of passage and life milestones that normally we would celebrate with others in community, present to each other. And yet it's hard to do that right now. So we want to enter into this time and space and lift up all the people celebrating graduations this year and this spring celebrating some important milestones. We begin with Summer Warmth by Helen Cohen. We stand at the edge of summer. The sun has at last warmed us enough that we begin to trust in its presence. The last burst of spring blossoms, lavender and white and deep pink banks of rhododendron are giving way to summer peonies and roses. O source of the turning seasons, of earth, of life, of promise gradually becoming fulfillment, may your people find a lightening of the burdens with the brightening of the skies. This spring, as so many people are experiencing graduation ceremonies and other academic milestones and crossing of academic thresholds at home, online, the way we're celebrating our service this morning, we want to do just a little bit more recognition for them. So please, as we show you who our graduates are and who among our congregations are having academic transitions and crossing academic thresholds this spring, we want you to hold them in your heart and offer them your most profound and loving blessing. Having recognized those crossing academic thresholds this spring, we want to recognize those crossing other thresholds and celebrating other milestones. Let's start off with our birthdays. Happy 8th birthday to Trevor. And happy 60th birthday to Margaret. And Margaret's 60th birthday this spring coincides with her retirement as a school counselor. Congratulations on that.
I wish for you to be free from doubt. When you feel left behind or left out, when the world seems brighter everywhere else, and your mind is lost inside a wishing well. Right on time, you are right on time. You're right on time. Remember, the heart is a tender thing. Restless and hopeful, it cries and sings. And sometimes you need shelter and a space to be a little tough, not tough enough, a little lost at sea. And when everyone is racing and you join in, if you can, try running with a smile, 'cause there is a danger in going too fast. Getting too far ahead can set you back. Right on time, you are right on time. You're right on time. You are right on time. You're right on time. And when you're tired and on your own, cried so many tears, they're all gone. When there's nothing you haven't tried to fix this uncertain road. When everywhere you look, you see regret, caught up in the past and what might have been. What we can never know will make our heads spin. A little love, a little trust, a lot of forgiveness. Right on time, you are right on time. You're right on time. What if we're right on time? We're right on time. We're right on time.
country, such as here in Connecticut. The same William Barber Jr., who is part of the group calling for a new Poor People's campaign. So it was going to be quite a graduation speech, and it was. He gave a rousing, inspirational, sermon-esque call to action. Basically what you'd expect from a preacher activist. And in great preaching style, he kept returning to this phrase, graduate today, but get up, get together, and get involved tomorrow. Amen. Still good advice for graduates and the rest of us. Still good advice a year later. Especially good advice in the wake of the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis this past Monday. We will celebrate our graduations and our milestones today. And we will get up, and we will get together, and we will get even more involved tomorrow. There is much work left for us to do. We are still social distancing, and we still are practicing quarantine, but we are, in a sense, still going to have to go out and hit the streets. Now, in the days after that graduation, I started to think, what would I say as a graduation address? And I composed something that I used last year as part of a talk to students this time and part of a newspaper column, but I think it bears reviving this week in terms of what are we talking about as we graduate, as we continue over and over through our lives to go over thresholds from one stage of life to another, from befores and afters, to what do we do next, to okay, we've accomplished this, now what's my next step? Because I think this past week has reminded us once again, we continuously need to find our place in the struggle for the freedom of all people. And I realized last year when I thought about it, and I think it's still true today, and this past week as I thought about it again, that maybe the two most important things we can do are to not be afraid and to stay curious. Fear is a massive weapon. Right now, fear is being weaponized not only in our American culture, but around the world by various governments, from Hungary to England to Israel to Saudi Arabia to India. Those in power will use fear to control and hold on to power. Preachers of fundamentalism in all kinds of religion, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, will condemn non-believers not only as wrong, but evil, and tell others to be afraid of them. As the writer Anne Lamott said, the sure sign of idolatry is when your God hates all the same people you do. This week, we saw what that kind of fear looks like as a white woman in Central Park, so afraid that she calls the police on an African-American man who simply asked her to put her dog on a leash as the sign and the law required. Oh, but she was going to use the fear of him being black against him. Oh, and the tide turned. May the tide turn as distinctly against the people responsible for George Floyd's murder. Don't be manipulated by fear, by those who want you to fear others. There are things we need to fear. COVID-19, catastrophic climate change, antibiotic-resistant bacteria, the epidemic and pandemic of the mass shootings of our school children. We don't have time to waste on manufactured fears about immigrants and the undocumented and people of color and who's using what bathroom and who's a non-believer and who's okay and pure and righteous. In her 2016 book, Conflict is Not Abuse, author Sarah Schulman presents the idea that at, as she says, quote, many levels of human interaction, there is an opportunity to conflate discomfort with threat, to mistake internal anxiety for exterior danger, and in turn to escalate rather than resolve the conflict. And that's exactly the place that white woman found herself when asked to leash her dog by a black man in Central Park. She mistook her internal anxiety for an actual danger or threat. The policeman who killed George Floyd, did they not mistake all their anxieties as law enforcement officers for real danger that was not present? For an example, Schulman uses the police murdering Michael Brown. For whatever reason, black men instill such fear in the officers that they kill a man who was not actually a threat. And yet again, and again this week, we see it. We see this overreaction of fear play out in all kinds of ways. We see it in our immigration policy. We're so afraid of brown people speaking Spanish, we put them in prisons and take their children away from them by force and leave them out of financial relief when the world is suffering a pandemic. The dynamic of overreaction to conflict happens when white people try to engage racism, if even discussing the topics of white privilege or white supremacy or racism bother us and make us defensive. That's white fragility. White fragility encompasses all the thinking about, how dare somebody think I'm a racist? Or I'm a good person, I don't hate black people. Getting offended and emotional whenever our own personal white attitudes and behavior are called into question shifts the issues at hand to our white feelings instead of the realities of racism experienced by people of color. Racism is not individual acts of discrimination. It is a system of attitudes, behaviors, norms, and laws that are discriminatory and enable George Floyd to end up murdered and a black law-abiding citizen in Central Park to have a white woman call the police on him because he asked her to follow the rules. Oh, we have not been wronged in our whiteness. We are only asked to engage a conflict of race and the work we still have yet to do around it that can be incredibly uncomfortable for everyone. But it is work we must do. And in order to not be afraid, we need to replace fear with curiosity. When the politician or the preacher wants you to be afraid, first ask, why? And then, who benefits if I'm afraid? Who makes money if I'm afraid? Who gets power or keeps it if I'm afraid? Ask why. Why are some people bothered by Colin Kaepernick taking a knee at the national anthem, but not bothered by a policeman in Minneapolis taking a knee on a black man's neck until he's dead? Be curious. Ask why. One of my favorite YouTube channels is a sex-positive sexuality education channel called Sexplanations, which is also one of the best titles of anything ever. The host is a clinical psychologist named Dr. Lindsay Doe, and she has a wonderful program about human sexuality, very owl-esque, developmentally appropriate, covers all kinds of topics from real scientific angles and real angles of inclusion and diversity and respect and communication and science and wonderful. But she ends every single episode, no matter what she's discussing or teaching, with the phrase, stay curious. Wow. She even sells t-shirts to fund the YouTube channel with stay curious and rainbow letters on them. I love that. Stay curious. It's great advice, not just for sexuality, but in any area of human endeavor or relationship, especially where fear, shame, Guilt, ignorance, misinformation, and avoidance are major obstacles to truth and equity and fairness and peace. And these obstacles show up in so many parts of our life that curiosity may be the most underdeveloped adulting skill there is. Curiosity comes in handy in just about any situation in which we find ourselves. Curiosity may be, I'm beginning to think, the ultimate life hack. Master curiosity, and you have one of the keys to living a happier, healthier, and more fulfilling life. Practicing curiosity helps us be less emotionally reactive, less anxious, and less afraid, and thus less able to be manipulated by others who want us to fear. Curiosity helps us learn. It fills us with wonder. It inspires courage. It improves relationships. Curiosity requires us to listen more attentively, pause before speaking, ask more questions instead of offering easy answers. Curiosity is a spiritual practice of kindness and compassion and acceptance and inclusion. Curiosity manifests most readily when, as St. Francis said, we seek first to understand rather than be understood. I know most things in my own life would be better the better I get at putting curiosity into practice. And I'm going to guess that's true for all of you too. Unfortunately, as we age, curiosity dies at the hands of assumptions and projections and those who want us to be afraid. We form opinions and assume attitudes towards some people because of the way they look or speak or dress or their religion or where they're from or who they love. Instead, we become afraid of what we don't know and what's unfamiliar. Everything from personal relationship to world diplomacy would benefit from ditching fear in favor of curiosity. Everything we know about ourselves and the universe around us, we know because someone at some point was curious enough to find out. It's been a rough week. We, as largely white congregations, have a lot of work to do. We're not going to be afraid of doing that work. We're not going to be afraid of others who want us to be afraid of people of color or people who are not like us. We're going to give up fear. We're going to stay curious. We're going to start to learn what we need to learn to undo the white supremacy culture that holds us hostage, that stops us from actually correcting the problems that we face in terms of race and inclusion and equity and fairness and justice. And as we do that, we're going to cross threshold after threshold of learning. We're going to cross threshold after threshold of growth. And I think eventually we're going to find we're crossing the thresholds that bring us a little closer to the world we all actually want to live in. Stay curious. Spirit of life, with the murder of George Floyd this week, it's been hard to find words as the senseless violence of white supremacy culture and racism continue to destroy our country. Yet I found these words from Darcy Roque, and I offer them as a deep prayer. There is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There's too much injustice in this world to not right the balance every day. There's too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, more filled with the grace of divine presence every day. And into that divine presence and into our hearts, I ask you to hold my stepmother Veronica, who's in the hospital with COVID-19, Donna Stimson, who's recovering from surgery this week, and in the hardship, if you need to find some joy, let us rejoice with Mike and Cassandra Hardaby as Mike has his job back and back to work as he was before the pandemic struck. With heavy hearts and hearts that seek to celebrate the joys around us, we offer all of this in the name of everything glorious, good, kind, and compassionate. Amen. My friends, I know things are difficult financially for a lot of people right now. They're also a little difficult for our congregations as we move through this time. I know there are those of you who are going to find it very difficult to help the congregation financially. I understand. Those of you who can help the congregation financially, I ask you to please be as generous as possible. Not only do we need to continue to provide the ministry of this congregation to our members, to provide online services, to provide education, but we have a lot of community partners that are counting on us to combat food insecurity, to fight for our environment, to make sure our communities know Black Lives Matter, and to help the immigrants among us who aren't getting any relief from federal or state financial relief programs for the pandemic. Please be as generous as you possibly can.
We're still having coffee hour. If I can get that slide to come up, we'll still have coffee hour. At any rate, there's supposed to be on your screen in front of you something that looks like this. And that is the... why does that not come up? Anyway, so we're still having coffee hour in Zoom. For Meriden, the address is go.uumeriden.org/Zoom. And for the Moose congregation, it is is.gd/MUUSCT. Those addresses will be in your in the chat windows in Facebook.
We are incredibly grateful for all of you who can be generous right now and help us financially. We want to celebrate all the things you are grateful for the way we are grateful for your support. Don't forget to send me the things you want to celebrate so I can include them in our Thanksgivings, in our joys and concerns, in our prayers each Sunday. In the name this week, we have a couple of things we'd like to alert you to so that you can take action on behalf of our Unitarian Universalist values. First of all, please contact Governor Lamont in Connecticut, and the phone number and the email and web address should be on your screen, and ask him to make sure there's some financial relief provided for undocumented immigrants during this time. A lot of undocumented immigrants work hard in our community, a lot of them in essential roles, and they are getting no financial relief from the state or federal government right now. Please contact the governor and ask him to make sure Connecticut does something for them. We also have a message from Ed Edelson about the No Place for Hate campaign that is starting in Woodbury and Southbury. And yet, when we extinguish the chalice, we believe we take that flame with us in our heart that ignites our spirit, that inspires us and enables us to take action on behalf of justice and peace and love. It is a difficult time, my beloveds, but continue to be compassionate and courageous and kind, and we will get through this together. Go in peace, Holy One.